Why is it so hard for people to understand introverts? I can think of 4 main reasons. Now, there are probably more than these reasons, but these are the ones that jump to my mind. First, introverts' greatest strengths are initially hidden. Second, extroversion has become the norm. Third, introverts dislike self-promotion. And fourth, it takes time and patience to get to know an introvert. Let's take a look at each one in turn. First, introverts' greatest strengths are initially hidden. The nature of introversion is that it's focused inwardly. A person who's an introvert focuses on ideas, thoughts, and memories or experiences from the past, whereas an extrovert focuses his or her energy outwardly toward other people and taking action. So, by being an introvert, the nature of that person is that they're going to keep their greatest strengths in their mind where they do their best work. An introvert naturally is going to be a great thinker or be a very creative person or have an incredible memory because most of his or her energy is focused inwardly in the mind. Whereas an extrovert is going to be really good at connecting with other people or executing projects, taking action, fixing things up. It all has to do with where that energy is focused. Now, the problem with being an introvert, if there is a problem, is that people can't initially see what you're doing. An extrovert, you can readily see what that person is doing. Are they building a building? Are they building relationships? Are they connecting with others? It's not that an introvert isn't taking action. It's just that you can't observe it until it manifests itself in the form of a document or a paper or something online or words or actions. We can't see it unless, of course, you have some kind of computer that's monitoring the person's head. So as a result, people who don't know an introvert and can't see what's going on inside the mind wrongly assume that maybe they have less to contribute, but it's not so. It's just that it's not readily observable. Number 2, extroversion has become the norm. Now, there's a variety of different statistics as to the breakdown of introverts and extroverts and how much of the population is comprised of each. I've heard anything as there are a third of all people that are introverts. I think that's widely accepted to a little over half of people are introverts. But it can be said that there are probably more extroverts in the world than introverts, even if that difference is slight. Again, I think Susan Cain's book, Quiet, might have dislodged that idea, but at least in Western culture, extroversion has become the norm. It's what's expected. People are expected to be social, to be outgoing, to be engaged in a lot of activities. Now, if you were to go to a country like Japan, or I think even like Sweden or Norway, I don't know that that's so much the norm, but for our culture in America, it definitely is normal, and people expect you to be more extroverted. And if you like to spend more time by yourself, that's thought to be weird or something's wrong with you. Not by all people, but definitely by many. So that's one reason that people have a hard time understanding introverts. A third reason people have a hard time understanding introverts is introverts dislike self-promotion. So if we were to jump back to slide 1 again, introverts have great ideas, great thoughts, great recollection of what's happened, but until they tell other people what they can do or they bring it out and share it with others, other people aren't going to know, because unlike extroverts who share it with the world, introverts keep it to themselves unless they tell others about it. But the thing is, most introverts dislike self-promotion because it feels awkward and they're not used to sharing their accomplishments and making much of what they've done and just broadcasting what they can do. It's not that they shouldn't learn to share their strengths when appropriate. It's just that it's something that's unnatural for them. So as a result, people don't really see as often what introverts contribute until they really get to know them, which brings me to the 4th point. It takes time and patience to get to know an introvert. I have friends, and I know this is true of me too, but I have a lot of friends who are introverts, and they've said, the ones that are married have said that it took their spouse a while to really see the real them, because introverts don't open up as readily. They have fewer relationships, I think, because They know they have limited energy to expend. They recharge alone rather than with other people. So they're very cautious about who they relate to, and they have to know that a person's safe and trustworthy before they'll open up. So it really takes time and patience to get to know an introvert, but it's only when you build that relationship with an introvert that you really get to see the full person and the strengths, like we talked about in this first slide. So another barrier for people seeing and understanding introverts is that not everybody is going to get to see the introvert. There may be just a few people in that person's life, a few friends, a few family members that really get to see what the introvert can do and what makes him unique or what makes her unique and special. And that's kind of actually a special gift that the introvert gives another person who's willing to commit to staying in there for the long run. Because when an introvert forms a relationship, it generally is an enduring one. It's not a passing one. It's a long-lasting one. So that brings me to the final idea. If you are a person wanting to get to know an introvert, remember that it's worth it. It's going to take time. It's going to take patience, but introverts are generally trustworthy people, and they have a wealth of rich ideas to share because they're very self-aware people. They're very insightful people, creative people, thoughtful people. Some of your best artists, writers, inventors, chemists, and scientists, any thought-driven profession. Some of those people are introverts. The people that fill those professions are introverts. So when you're getting to know an introvert, they really do have a lot to contribute, even though initially it might not seem like they do. And I love the analogy again of an iceberg. If you look at an iceberg, you only see the tip initially. That's a good analogy for an introvert, because when you see an introvert at first, they're not going to say a whole lot or do a whole lot outwardly. But beneath the surface, there's a lot of activity going on. So it's really worth getting to know an introvert if you're willing to invest the time. So those are a few reasons why it's hard for people to understand introverts. For more information on introverts and thriving in an extroverted world, check out ispeakpeople.com.